By the turn of the century, the Bay Area was the economic center of the West. We had about 650,000 people in the area. That's about a tenth of what we have now. And people were building up, particularly around the margins of San Francisco Bay. Earthquakes were a part of daily life. This is a quote from the UC Berkeley student newspaper by a geology professor trying to kind of calm the public. No cause for alarm in recent earthquakes. And he goes on to say that history and records show that these earthquakes have never been of a very violent nature. And as far as he can judge, there's not occasion for alarm at the present time. And this was December 12, 1904. However, on April 18, 1906, early in the morning, the 1906 earthquake began. It began offshore from San Francisco. If you've been there, Golden Gate Park, it's about 2 miles offshore from Golden Gate Park. There was a foreshock about 30 seconds before the big earthquake. That probably acted to start waking people up. It was probably about a magnitude 4 or so. But interestingly, no one had noted anything unusual in the seismicity in the days, weeks, or months leading up to the earthquake. So there was really no warning at all that this earthquake was about to occur. And I've already mentioned it ruptured the San Andreas Fault for 300 miles. It broke both to the northwest and southeast from San Francisco. It's a magnitude 7.9. And the really strong shaking, as reported by first-hand accounts, lasted 45 to 60 seconds in San Francisco, and the fires began almost immediately. There were a lot of open fires for cooking going at that time. This earthquake was the first earthquake that was systematically studied, investigated, and documented, and significantly, as a result of that study, they realized that this was not a random event. It was part of an ongoing, recurring process. This study was led by the aforementioned Andrew Lawson, professor at Berkeley. He went to the governor, and 3 days after the earthquake, the governor commissioned a report. However, it was an unfunded mandate. But the Carnegie Institution of Washington stepped up with the funding. The commission was a team of 8 scientists, only 3 were geologists, and they were joined by about 25 other scientists. It was a real multidisciplinary study. But first and foremost, these scientists were very keen observers. They had the foresight to not only make these great observations, but detail them so that the record of this earthquake and its effects were preserved. And they have been preserved in a report published by the Carnegie Institution. And remarkably, it was published the main report, just 2 years after the earthquake. It totals about 640 pages long. There's a separate portfolio of large-size maps and sketches. Original copies of that I know are selling in the thousands of dollars range today, but you can still get a reprinted version for $35 from the Carnegie Institution, and it's also available online. But it's truly a landmark report. Nothing has ever been done to that level of completeness and detail since this earthquake.